So you're a recreational scuba instructor, and you want to be fully prepared to guide a student with multiple sclerosis, right? You want that confidence, that framework to do it safely. Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down in this explainer.
This is really the big question, isn't it? How do we share this incredible underwater world we love while making sure it's absolutely safe for everyone? By the end of this, you're going to have a really clear plan to do just that, approaching it with confidence and, just as importantly, with care. We're going to tackle this by following the same journey you take with any student. We'll start with the pre-dive prep on land, then we'll move into the in-water adaptations, and we'll wrap up with that crucial post-dive care. It's a logical flow built for how you actually teach.
Okay, first things first. We have to build a solid foundation. Really understanding the basics of multiple sclerosis is non-negotiable before we even think about getting a student into the water.
So, here's the most important thing for us as instructors. MS is not just one thing. You might see things like muscle weakness, balance issues, numbness, or fatigue. And the key word here is variability. The symptoms can be totally different from person to person, and even day to day for the same person. And that variability is everything when it comes to our approach.
All right, listen up, because this concept right here, Uhthoff's phenomenon, is probably the single most critical piece of medical info for us. I want you to picture it. Gearing up on a hot boat deck under the sun, or even just diving in warm tropical water. Even a tiny little rise in body temperature can temporarily make symptoms worse. We're talking strength, vision, coordination, you name it. And that's exactly why managing heat becomes priority number one.
Okay, so how do we take that knowledge and actually use it? Well, we're going to translate it into a practical framework. Let's break down the main challenges so we can build a clear, structured way to assess any risks.
This table is a fantastic roadmap. You can see how for every potential risk, from that heat sensitivity we just talked about to muscle weakness, there's a practical way to manage it. See, we're not looking for reasons to say no. We're building a toolbox so we can find ways to say yes, and here's how we'll do it safely. All right, let's dive into phase one. And honestly, this is probably the most critical part of the whole process. The success and safety of the entire dive really hinges on the homework we do right here, long before anyone's toes even touch the water. This three-step process, it's the absolute bedrock of your plan. It's not optional. You have to start with a sign-off from a specialist who knows dive medicine. Then you get familiar with their medications. And maybe most importantly, you sit down and have a real open conversation with your student about their specific condition. And this is what that conversation looks like. You're not just checking boxes here. You're gathering intelligence, building a custom-tailored training plan. Asking about their fatigue patterns or if they have numbness in their hands isn't being nosy. That's you being a smart, proactive instructor who can see a challenge coming and plan for it. Okay, so we've done our homework on the surface. Now it's time to hit the water. This is where your skill as an adaptive instructor really gets to shine. I love this quote because it just nails our job description. We are risk managers. We are proactive problem solvers. Our goal is to look at every single piece of the dive puzzle, from the water temp to their energy levels to how they're thinking, and actively find ways to make it safer for our student. And check this out. This is that mindset in action. On the left, you've got the standard way of doing things. But on the right, you see these simple, practical fixes. Instead of a long, tiring surface swim, maybe we do a boat drop right at the spot. Instead of them hauling heavy gear in the heat, we get it all set up for them at the water's edge. Each one is such a small change, but it makes a huge difference in managing their energy and body temp.
And it's not just about technique, right? Your gear choices can be a total game changer. Something as simple as using split fins can slash leg fatigue. Or maybe you move their pressure gauge to a different spot or add a bigger clip to something to help with limited hand strength. Again, these are often really easy modifications that can be the difference between a struggle and an amazing, successful dive.
Our communication style has to be adaptable too. If a student has some sensory loss, we make it a rule. We do more frequent, visual checks of our gear. If they get mentally tired easily, we break down skills into smaller, bite-sized pieces. It's all about clear, patient communication to make sure the message gets through no matter what. And please remember, this is not a solo mission. You are not expected to do this all by yourself. Bringing your ratio down to one-on-one, using a certified adaptive support diver, and giving the dive buddy a really thorough briefing, that's all just smart risk management.
It creates a team of vigilant, knowledgeable eyes in the water.
Let's talk about our final phase, post-dive care. And listen, this is every bit as important as what happens before or during the dive. Your responsibility doesn't just stop the second your student's head breaks the surface.
Your duty of care covers the entire experience, from start to finish. That means you're actively watching for fatigue after the dive. You're making sure they cool down properly in the shade, and you're managing the whole dive schedule to build in plenty of rest. You got to be vigilant because catching things like overheating or dehydration early is absolutely critical.
So, we've covered all this ground. What's the big takeaway here? When you strip it all away, what is our role at its very core? It's this, right here. By doing the planning, by communicating, and by being willing to adapt, you become more than just an instructor teaching skills. You become a facilitator. You create this safe, supportive space where someone can learn, explore, and have a truly incredible life experience. And at the end of the day, this is the fundamental truth we have to remember. Scuba diving doesn't need to be off limits. With your professional guidance and these thoughtful adaptations, an active, full life can absolutely and safely include the wonder of our underwater world.
So now you have the tools, you've got the framework. The only question left is, with this careful planning, who are you going to help discover the ocean next?